B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh V'Natzech. This week's Parsha is Balak. We're recording Leilun Nishmat Avi Mori, Ater Joshik Areni Kaprat Mishkamo Shlomo Chaim Ben David. And I wanted to dedicate today's Torah thought to my Rosh Yeshiva, which the whole today's Devar Torah is based on his, Rav Shmuel Yaakov Weinberg. It is 28th anniversary of his Yortzeit, one of the greatest men and unique men I've ever had the honor and privilege of knowing. We know that this week's Parsha, Parshat Balak, talks about such a beautiful virtue that the nation of Israel has, which is modesty. Even our greatest adversary, Bilam and Balak, when they see that the tents of the Jewish nation are faced away from each other, so God forbid one shouldn't be able to glance into his neighbor's house, Bilam, the greatest prophet of the Gentiles, says, Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov u'mishkenatecha Israel. He says, how beautiful are the tents of Yaakov. He is mystified and astonished about the modesty, the purity, the decency, and the delicacy that the Jews have to be sensitive, not even by mistake, to glance into their neighbor's house. And that's what I wanted to talk about, because the Haftarah also talks about it. The great prophet says we can encapsulate the entire Torah on three pillars. Like if you look at the Gemara in the end of Makot, the Bavli there, it's my favorite Haftarah of the year. It says, God says, "Hey mankind, what is good? What does God demand from us? Kim la'asot mishpat, va'avat chesed, va'asneh lechet im Hashem Elokecha." Hashem says that the greatest of all virtues is to stand up for justice, for fairness, to love kindness, and va'asneh lechet, to be modest when we walk with God. And I wanted to say such a beautiful idea from my Rosh Yeshiva, because he would always say this, and he was very sensitive and particular about it. Rav Yaakov Weinberg Zatzal would say one of the biggest misconceptions is that people think that modesty only applies to women, which of course women have to be more sensitive about it, but that's a big misconception. The world thinks that modesty only applies to women. Nothing could be farther from the truth. As we see clearly from our great prophet Micha, which in his opinion, he says that the Torah can be encapsulated on three important virtues and fundamentals, one of them being modesty. So therefore we see that from Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov and from Micha, that va'asneh lechet, modesty, is a backbone of our religion. And why am I compelled about talking about this? Because in my synagogue the last few weeks, Baruch Hashem, we remodeled it and we had 3 Shabbat, Sheva Berachot, Shabbat Arusi. And you know, it's not becoming unnormal for people to make their weddings at the Ritz-Carlton and spend close to $500,000 on a wedding. I have a friend that's an architect telling me, somebody that I know personally, building a $40 million house. Now, this, and I don't mean to put anybody down, but this we have to understand very clearly is anti-Torah. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to pick on anybody, but what the Rosh Yeshiva Zatzal was saying is that any time, whether male or female, we flaunt our money, our muscles, our status, our education, any godly gift that we're endowed with, when we flaunt it and make people feel inferior, that is going against the fundamental of the Torah, va'asneh lechet, to be modest. Because the envy of our society has become making a $500,000 wedding in the Ritz-Carlton, and we see on social media that everybody's trying to be super flashy and parade their luxury lifestyle, their mansions and their over-the-top living. And this is so important for women to understand also, as it's literally baffling and shocking that you find women that consider themselves Haredi, even ultra-Orthodox. It's being modest is not about necessarily the length of your sleeves or the length of your dress. If the dress fits tightly or it's flashy colors that you stand out, you've missed the boat. And that's really what Rav Ovadia Zatzal always used to tell us about the shaitels. We have these waterfall shaitels. Technically, superficially, one could argue it's modest. I'm wearing a shaitel, I'm not uncovering my hair. But the truth is that the point that Rosh Yeshiva was trying to make is that modesty, just like being kind, just like being patient, is a virtue, is a midah. It's not, if we don't have it inculcated in our heart and mind, in our attributes, to be godly, because to be modest is to be godly, then you've missed the boat. Every day a new style can come out, and it doesn't matter how long the skirt. If one has the ambition to always show off and stand out, then no guideline would be able to do justice to true modesty. It has to be an inner feeling of, I don't want to make anybody feel inferior. I don't want to flash and advertise to the world how great and beautiful my body is. And that's why the Rosh Yeshiva Zatzal was very particular that even when we would play basketball in the yeshiva, they shouldn't play with shorts. And so never in the history of mankind was this message so important. Thank God we've been blessed with so much money. And it's a shame that instead of making the world a better place, people are so selfish that they build houses with rooms they're never going to use. They buy cars they're never going to drive, just because they want to show off. But the true Torah Jew is the humble one, is the innocent one, is the one that realized that we've been put on this earth to do loving kindness. That's what we should use our money for, to bring justice, to support Torah. And let's not forget, just like the Rosh Yeshiva always would tell us, that modesty applies to everybody, and maybe even more so to men than women in today's society, where we're living in a society where everything is over the top, everything is flashy. And may Hashem bless his memory. We are eternally grateful to the yeshiva, Ner Israel, and to the Rosh Yeshiva, which was literally like the Urim V'Tumim and an angel. Have a wonderful Shabbat, and don't forget to subscribe.